Hello, I'm Greg. Welcome to my channel, Midnight Oil Software, and a really quick tutorial on how to handle collisions in Unity. So someone has reached out to me on Discord asking for help in how to handle collisions, how to detect collisions and respond to them. And I've been trying to explain it just through, text on Discord, and we've had a lot of back and forth, and I just haven't felt like I've done a really good job of explaining it. At least they don't really seem to be understanding it. So I thought I would throw together a really quick video just to show how collisions work in Unity. So I have an empty scene here. I created a new blank project using the 2D core template. It doesn't really matter if it's 2D or 3D. The concepts are basically the same. What I'm going to do in here is I'm going to create a sprite. And I'm going to start with a square sprite. And I'm going to call this wall. And I'm just going to show you how every game object in Unity has a transform. And so this is the position, rotation, and scale of the object. And you can see if I was to come in here and I was to manipulate this and change its scale, you can see how it changes here in the inspector. If I was to move it, you can see how its position is updating. And I'm going to go ahead and scale this so that it basically fits the entire screen here on the bottom of the screen. And then I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm just going to move it up to the top of the screen. Actually, what I can do is I can take this Y and change it from negative to positive. And then I'm going to duplicate that again. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So it's horizontal, and of course we don't need it to be anywhere near that big, so I'm going to come in here and scale it down. And I'm going to drag it over to the left side of the screen, make it just a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to duplicate that again, and I'm going to change this from -8 to 8. All right, so we've got a wall around here, and I'm going to add a player. So this is just going to be a little capsule sprite. And I'm going to call this player. And I'm even going to tag it with the player tag. Now, if I was to hit play, nothing is going to happen. These guys don't have rigid bodies. They don't have colliders. There's no interaction with physics. They're just basically sitting there. And if I was to grab this player in the inspector and move it, I can move them through the walls, and we're not getting any collisions or anything. So what I'm going to do is for the player, I'm going to add a rigid body 2D. And now if I hit play, you'll see that he'll actually fall because he's interacting with physics and he is responding to gravity. But he just falls through the floor and keeps going. The other thing I'm going to do is add a capsule collider 2D. Now I'm adding the 2D versions of these because these are 2D objects. If these were 3D objects like a cylinder or a cube, we would use rigid body and the 3D version of the colliders. But the principles are still the same whether it's 2D or 3D. I'm going to take all 4 walls and I'm going to add box colliders to them, the 2D versions. And if we were to go ahead and turn those on, you can see the little green boxes around those colliders. Now if I hit play, you see that our player stops when it hits the bottom floor, or the wall on the bottom. Now, if we want to detect collisions, I'm going to, on all of these walls, I'm going to add a component, a new script. I'm going to call it wall. And we're going to open that up. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these start and update functions. I'm going to add on collision enter 2D. And I'm just going to do a debug log. And I'm going to say game object.name collide it with the name or whatever it is we collide it with. And if we jump back out here into Unity, let that recompile, and I hit play, it should, when it hits the bottom here, we should log out a message. Boom, wall collided with player. So not only did we collide with it and interact with it physically so that it stopped our movement, but we also got an event or a callback from Unity saying, hey, something collided with you. And we're able to see what it was we collided with. Now, let's make our player move. I'm going to come in here to our player. I'm going to add a new component. I'm going to call it new script and give it a name of player. Now, normally, if this was a real player, we would handle input and we would move in response to the input. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a serialized field, and I'm going to hard code a movement speed. And it's going to be a new vector 3, and I want it to move 5 on the x-axis. And then in our update, we're going to say position equals transform.position. And then we're going to add our movement speed times time.delta time, and we're going to assign that back to our transformed's position. So that should move our player to the right on the x-axis. So if we go back out into the Unity game engine, let that recompile. Hit play. Boom. You see he's moving to the right, but then he collided with wall 3, this wall over here, and the wall is blocking him from moving. I'm going to go ahead and on our player, I'm going to disable gravity. All right, so he's not responding to gravity. And I'm going to take our wall 2 and wall 3, and I'm going to make a little gap that the player can run through. And let's see. And what I'm going to do, so now if I hit play, the player should just move through the right and go through that gap. You can see it better over here. And there he goes. But he just keeps going on and on and on forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little teleporter right here that when the player goes through this tunnel, he's going to come back out the other side. So I'm just going to add a new empty game object. We don't need to render anything. So I'm just going to call this teleporter. I'm going to add a box collider. And we're going to position that in the tunnel. And I just want to edit that collider so it fills the tunnel. And I want to set this collider to be isTrigger. Now I'm going to show you when we hit play and let the player run through there, it's not going to block the player. You see, it just runs right through it. So what we want to do though is we want to handle the onTrigger enter event so we can teleport the player back to the other side. So I'm going to add a component, new script. I'm going to call that teleporter. Open that up. We don't need start or update. What we're going to do is onTrigger enter 2D. We're going to say if the collider's game object compare tag player. So if it's the player that we collided with, then we want to take the player's position. And that's going to be collider.gameObject.transform.position. We're going to multiply. Actually, we're going to just take the position and set it to the negative position. We're going to flip it from positive to negative or vice versa. I could just multiply it by -1. It would have the same effect. And I'm going to assign it back to that object's transform. And so if we run back out into Unity and hit play, when this guy goes over and makes contact with this collider, it's going to teleport him to the other side. Boom. Boom. And they just keep doing that forever because he just keeps teleporting over here and keeps running to the right. One other thing I could do is I could just do a debug log. I'm going to say debug log game. Let's see, I want to say game object dot name triggered by whatever it was that we collided with. So come back out here again. So now when we hit this, not only should it teleport him, but we should see a console log message. Boom. So the transporter was triggered by the player. And you can see we keep getting those every time it collides with it. So hopefully that was a decent explanation of the basics of colliders and the collision callbacks in Unity. And if you enjoyed that, do me a favor and click that like and subscribe button. It really does help me to grow my channel. And if you have any questions, be sure to jump over to my Discord channel. I'll put a link in the description. You can post any questions you want in there. I'd appreciate it if you actually posted them publicly in the Discord channel instead of messaging me privately, just so other people can benefit from the discussion that we have there. And just a reminder that Highland Panic is on sale on Steam for 50% off. I'll put a link for that in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck on your game development journey.